And thanks to Food Basket, right, for donating it. Thanks for serving everybody. If I apologize ahead of time if I've got blue icing on my mouth.
You're not alone.
You're not the only one.
I won't be the only one. We'll continue with our cake eating, and we'll move on with our agenda. Next up this evening is a review and approval of minutes from our July 16th, 2018 regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? The only thing I noticed was a typo on a name, and I should have highlighted it. The page was page 2 under safety coordinator update. The second sentence says Mrs. Kane, and I believe it should just be Mrs. McCain. That was the only edit that I saw looking through the minutes. Was there any other edits from the board members? I'll entertain a motion to accept our minutes from July 16th.
So move.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the minutes with the small edit from our July meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Next on our agenda this evening is consideration and approval of our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve our agenda as presented.
I so moved.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you all. Next on our agenda this evening is information presentations. These are non-action items. And first up this evening is Chelsea Hotchkiss with Insurance First. Welcome.
Thank you guys. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thanks Mike for introducing me and stuff, and taking a few minutes out of your guys' night to hear about this unique program that I have. And I also, I was here last time, and I really wanted to commend everybody on your guys' efforts and what you guys are doing to try and keep the kids safe and making changes going along with the times, because I know it's not an easy job or anything to look over. So the community and then myself as a parent, I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So without further ado, I will jump right into it. I'm going to share some numbers with you guys. It's pretty shocking. So on average, there's one school shooting incident every 63 hours. And so far, there's 17 and counting in the 42 days that we've been in school in the nation. Sandy Hook Elementary, $50 million was spent to reopen their school and moving students, and that was just reopening the school, not every expense that they had. There's still a lawsuit between two families from that side of things where they're still going through negotiations. This is over 5 years later. Let's see, Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida. Just one expense that's something that was interesting to me, I hadn't even thought about, but their expense is $1.3 million per year estimated in securing that school because it's a crime scene, and so it has to be secured for however many years until the shooter's case goes all the way through trial. And so just by them adding three deputies to be able to help secure the premises, it was $3,600 a day, $3,607 to be exact. Coronado High, it's not just shootings, but unfortunately if kids are, take their own lives and threats, Coronado had a student commit suicide, and unfortunately the list just goes on and on. But with these numbers, you can see that the schools and all that, there's a cry for help. There's not the funding to be able to take care of this from the community, from the schools, from the budget. GoFundMe is awesome, but it doesn't go far enough for long-term issues. So, this is actually where's the answer, and it is in this unique insurance policy. It's insurance, and it's called an active shooter in workplace violence. So it does take care of all of the students as well as employees. You know, the number 2 death amongst workplace is workplace violence amongst employees, not counting students, sorry. So anyways, so the question, you know, that everybody has is, who's going to help the victim? And this policy will with a measured response to the tragic accident. So it has a measured response limits within areas. And so it'll pay for counseling, long-term medical rehabilitation, public relations counsel, you know, getting counsel with what you say with the media, facilitating responders, employee counseling, crisis consultants, death benefits, cleanup in closed environments, property damage, restoration, and more, all in this specified area. You know, most of the time we have a plan for fire drills and earthquakes and all these type of things, but this is the day after plan, like what do we do, who do we call? And some of these responders can be on the scene within 2 hours of the phone call, because we'll have officers doing what they're doing, and then there'll also be somebody that helps with some of these responders and assisting in that area. And so anyways, this policy assists in all of those areas, and I want to sit down and help be proactive with you guys in your district in creating a plan and a prevention on that. And that's what this is called. And again, the policy is called Active Shooters and Workplace Violence. And I will answer any questions. I brought an actual sample policy for you all, so you guys can have it to kind of look over. I brought some brochures about it that kind of highlights some more of those things that I mentioned. And then I also brought a quote for you guys, so you can look at the numbers on that too with different limits.
Any questions from the board?
I guess I have a question. Do we have any sort of policy right now in place that covers any of that? I don't know that we know the answer to that. I'm just curious.
I mean, we carry a risk policy, but I don't know what the provisions are, or if there are provisions for something like that, you know. I mean, I've never actually seen them spelled out. You know.
We can certainly, I think, if you'll pass out the information that you have, Chelsea will can take a look at those and then evaluate what we do have, and then we can move forward from there.
And then the actual policy. So you have the specimen. Things I thought somebody would like that. I didn't ever bring it in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're saying there's a lot.
Any other questions from the board or administration?
No, sir.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. If you guys think anybody else has my card as you research it, if you need any help reviewing your own policy, I can help you with that too. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next on our agenda under information and presentations is Cerise Grijalva with the Southwest Council of Governments. Welcome. Did I pronounce the first name correctly?
Cerise.
Cerise?
It is a difficult one.
Thank you.
Anyways, I'm here today because I work with Priscilla Lucero. She's well known here in our community, and she wanted me to come here today and kind of briefly talk about what I do. I'm the transportation planner for the Council of Governments, and some of the funding programs that I administer is through the New Mexico Department of Transportation. And one of the programs that they do have is the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is called the TAP. And usually we have about $5.7 million a year through this program. And the school boards are eligible to apply for these funds, which there is a 14.56% match. But this program, some kind of projects that can be submitted for this is like multi-use paths, bicycle lanes, sidewalks, safe routes to school coordinator, things like that. And I brought some guides here today that you guys can overlook to see if there's anything that you would like to apply for. And if you would contact me and we would set up a meeting with the Department of Transportation District, which is based out of Deming. Also, just anything that you have, like on your streets or roads, any concerns, I can help, because I act as a liaison between the state or the local governments. So just anything that you would need, I'm here. And I just kind of wanted to let you all know I have my card, and I'll give you one as well. So another program too that's been set for today is the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program, which we refer to as a CMAQ, and that's just omitting emissions. So something that can be submitted for that kind of funding is like new buses or like bicycle lanes, things like that, bicycle racks, and just things omitting the emissions, I'm not really familiar about that program, but I did bring the guide here today. And these two programs are for funding that would come in year 2020 and 2021. And it's always a 2-year planned out kind of program. But the call for projects is this year. For the TAP, it's the end of November. You would submit your full application to the Department of Transportation. And for the CMAQ is the end of December. But like I said, if you do have any projects in mind or any ideas, you can contact me and I can get you with the right person and help you out. So, is there any questions?
Questions from the board?
I was looking at that email on the Gopher Alert one that you sent, or that Priscilla sent us.
Oh, okay.
And it just had HDR opportunities and then actions for healthy kids. And I don't know if those are kind of old news things that are already done for the year, or I was just curious because I know we're working on different like playground equipment for pre-K, and some of that's sort of okay, done deal, did we miss an opportunity? But I didn't know if there were other things that we had laid out as far as future planning or changes that could qualify for some of that. Because when I looked at it, it said basically things that promote healthy living lifestyles, kids getting more active. And so I was just wondering how far they'll take that from an education perspective when we look at school property renovations. Because I know we have money coming in, or money that we've sort of been allocated to use, but if there are programs like this that make that money go a little bit further, to me it made sense when I was thinking about those.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're talking about like the Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities.
Mm-hmm.
But see, some of those funds can be like used as match to make even something bigger.
Right.
Like we had the schools in Ruidoso submit for a walking path between the middle schools and the elementary schools, and just things like that. But Priscilla is really with the Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities. But we kind of work in partnership for the bigger projects.
Gotcha. So, just thought that might be something.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board or administration?
No, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for presenting tonight, and if you've got information to hand out, we'll take that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody need to take another piece of cake?
Cerise, how are you? Good. Have you seen Alyssa lately?
No.
She has a beautiful baby that she.
I did for some vegan.
Oh yeah, you did? Oh yeah. Thanks for going by. Thank you. Chelsea. Chelsea. I see a quote on here. You said you can give us. Oh,
Thank you.
I think that was something messy.
thank you. Thank you very much. Did you only get to meet a piece? You could have ordered 10 pieces.
Okay.
Eight people like you.
Thank you.
All thin and stuff.
Next on our agenda this evening, under information and presentations, is the SCEA. Ms. Bustillos. Welcome.
It's so bright. I don't even know how you guys deal with these lights. Like, I can't. It's awful. Thank you for having us. We appreciate the time that the district gave us at District Day to remind our staff that their voice is awesome and that they should use it not only to advocate for themselves but for their students. And so we appreciate the time that was given, and we're thankful for that. We are, in the first 8 days of school here, and so we're working on getting our association representatives within each building. We are working to head towards the delegate council, which is where, as a group at the state level, NEA gets to vote for new officers and things like that. So we have some things going on. Like I said, right now it's only the first 8 days of school. We're looking forward to more positive things to come. We're very excited to hear that our students and teachers and staff worked really hard to raise the grades at the various schools. And we just appreciate everything that, we do in tandem with each other, for ourselves, for our staff. So thank you. And that's it.
Thank you.
Questions?
Very well, thank you. Okay. Any questions?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda this evening, under information to the board, is the superintendent, Mr. Brown.
Mr. President, members of the board, community members. The first item is Silver High and Cliff Schools graduation dates for school year 2018-2019. As was discussed at a prior meeting for Silver High School, the proposed date is, and the date that the district is requesting for graduation, again for Silver High School, would be Thursday, May 23rd at 7:30 p.m. at the Silver High School football field. And for Cliff Schools, it would be May 17th at the Cliff Basketball Gymnasium at 6 p.m. And of course, we have those items for approval later on the agenda. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board? Seeing none, I guess we'll move on to the next item.
All right, thank you.
Can I go back? I'm trying to make my
Dr. Diaz.
I just, I don't have a stake in the date. I just need to know when to show up. I don't have a senior there or anything. But I had a couple of parents come up to me, and I know that you brought this up at the last meeting yourself. They voiced concerns about the Thursday rather than a Friday date, that it's going to be kind of hard for people to get time off. And I don't really know how. I know there's a lot that goes into picking a date for graduation. It seems very easy up front and very hard to coordinate. But that's the only thing. I just felt like several parents had approached me about that. Again, I don't have a stake in it, but for those parents, they said that was one thing that came up with people having to take time off and trying to travel midweek and it not attached to a weekend, that was going to be kind of a hardship for several families, that they brought that up to me. So I understand it's more complicated than what's on the surface, but I just wanted to voice other people's concerns. Not, like I said, I don't have a stake in it this year. Not this year.
Not this year.
Was there a specific reason for the Thursday over Friday? I can't remember from discussion last month if there was.
I understand that the reason for it being so late is due to the NMAA state championships. But also, if I recall correctly, the rationale was Cobury High as well as Deming are on that Friday. And so the principal, Mr. Coker, wanted to be respectful of that in case there's families that wanted to attend that. And those are the reasons that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this topic for Mr. Brown? Seeing none, we'll move on to item B.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. Before I begin going into specific information regarding the armed security guards, I would like to share an article that I came across this last week, and it is titled Safety Report, Metal Detectors Ineffective at Los Angeles Unified School District schools. And this article was written August 7, 2018. And it is CBS LA is where it originated from. And it's a very short article, so I'll just take a few moments to read if I may. It says, and there's a reason for it, which I'll express afterwards. New school safety recommendations include doing away with metal detectors at Los Angeles Unified School District campuses and bringing in more mental health resources and a new reporting system to make it easier for students to report if a classmate is carrying a weapon. The report was issued by City Attorney Mike Feuer's Los Angeles School Safety Blue Ribbon Panel, which was formed after the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida on February 14th. The report recommends that the district suspend the practice of quote-unquote wanding students with a handheld metal detector to search for weapons at all middle schools and high schools until it performs a full audit of the program. But Feuer said it was not a position held by every panel member. The report found that of the 385 knives and firearms confiscated at LASUD schools in 2016-17, a metal detector wand was involved in only 5 confiscations. And most confiscations happened when students came forward to present information to adults on campus. Aside from being ineffective, the report said some students found the searches caused a breakdown in trust between students and adults on campus, and that they would be less likely to share information with adults. Instead, the panel recommended a text or app-based reporting system so students could alert school officials about a classmate carrying a weapon. Feuer also addressed the issue of arming teachers in schools, which is not included in the panel's recommendations, but which President Donald Trump has called for. Excuse me. It seemed to me from hearing those hearings, the panelists felt that putting more weapons on school campuses, especially in the hands of those who may not be fully equipped to use them in a crisis, was itself a recipe for less safe campuses, not more safe campuses, Feuer said. It's sort of a facile response to a much more complex problem. Other recommendations from the panel, which included Los Angeles School Police Chief Steven Zipperman, was that campuses should have just a single point of entry, more mental health resources, better teacher-student relations so no students feel isolated, and better assurances from parents that guns are securely stored. So I'm happy to say that due to the committee that Chief Flores is actually facilitating in our district, we are a step ahead. And the committee again was formed at the request of the board last school year, and with the leadership of Chief Flores again, we have addressed several of these items that the Los Angeles Unified School District is talking about in this article. So the main purpose I wanted to share this is to help the community understand that we're being proactive and we are on top of making sure to the best of our abilities that we're doing everything we can to keep our students and our staff safe. And I know Mr. Potts is helping out with the app system where students can call anonymously if need be. So we're doing everything we can. So thank you for that time. So getting back to the Armed Security Guards update, after the board meeting last month, I sent an email to Palms and Associates, who are third-party administrator for the risk insurance for the district. And I asked them to approve the job description that Chief Lotus had crafted. And the response that I got was, just for your consideration, I am encouraging all school districts thinking or planning to have armed employees to be patient in this process, as I am fairly confident, obviously not positive, that the issue of armed security personnel will be an item on the agenda in the upcoming state legislature, being that it's a long session. It would be unfortunate for a district to spend money on this now, just to have it possibly change in July 2019, and more money need to be spent. Right now, nothing is clear. Everything is gray. So at this point, I asked Chief Freddie Portillo, as well as Lieutenant Furman Lopez, Chief Freddie Portillo, of course, with the Silver City Police Department, and Lieutenant Furman Lopez with the Grant County Sheriff's Office, if they would be able and to assist us and willing to assist us for this school year until after the legislative session, so we have better direction on how to move forward. And I have to do a huge shout out to both of these gentlemen. They are incredibly responsive and sensitive to the needs of the district. They want to be part of the solutions. And anytime we pick up the phone and ask for assistance from either one of them, they are ready and willing to assist in any way that they possibly can. I cannot, as representative of the school district, thank either one of them enough. They're just both incredible, and they truly have the best interest of this district, staff and students alike, at heart. They truly do. So Chief Freddie Portillo, what he's planning on doing is having more of his officers have more interaction with the students, including on playgrounds, not just driving around the school, but actually getting out and interacting with the students. For example, Officer Manny Howde, he is going to be at a substation up at the middle school, and he's serving as a community resource officer, and basically he's going to be proactive with community outreach. Lieutenant Furman Lopez, again with the Grant County Sheriff's Office, is working with the principal in Cliff to set up a substation there as well, so that Cliff schools will be protected the best that we possibly can provide at this point. And to show you how involved these two law enforcement organizations are with the school district, we've got the Juvenile Probation Offices, JPO, as well as the Silver City Police Department and Grant County Sheriff's Office. They're working hand in hand with David Holguin, who is our truancy officer, one of our truancy officers, regarding attendance in our schools. They're actually going to our schools, talking to the students about safety, security, and bullying. They're also participating in Truancy 30-Day Kickoff, which is the brainchild of David Holguin, in which donations from local businesses around the community will be given prizes to winners, and through a drawing. These winners are the students that don't miss school, a single day of school, through September 21st. Their name will be put into a drawing, and prizes will be selected that way. So they're doing everything they can, working hand in hand with each other to ensure that our students attend school. So that is an update at this point. At the last Superintendent's Association meeting held 2 to 3 weeks ago, I don't recall exactly when it was, at the New Mexico Coalition of Educational Leaders Conference, CES, the Cooperative Educational Services, they are looking at getting into providing security services for school districts around the state. And what school districts would do would be to contract with CES to provide those services to the school districts. And I can't go into too much more information at this point in time. That is something that the district is definitely considering, because the liability would shift from the district more to CES. And there is going to be a meeting in the middle of September in which they will be sharing more information. And once I do plan on attending, and in speaking with Chief Flores, being the head of the committee, he's interested in attending as well. If there is another board member, of course, that would like to be present. And Ms. McCain will be attending, and Mr. Clough is still determining if he's going to be able to go or not. But as we get more information, we will definitely share it. So that's the update that I have at this point.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Dr. Diaz, going once? Thank you for that update. I'd like to add, if I could, Mr. Brown.
Sure.
I've just been at Silver High School, but I've seen the, I guess, the physical changes that have taken place.
Thank you.
In regards to the security efforts there, and I think they're positive, and there's something that in this day and time that we needed to address, and I think they've been addressed at least at Silver High School. So I feel better about that. I need to get around to some of the other schools and and see the changes that have taken place there, but I know they've got after the bell buzzers to enter the schools and just overall, I think a safer environment for our staff and our teachers. So thank you for that update.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that information.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to your next item.
All right, item C, enrollment and scores. The enrollment at this point is in flux. Needless to say, we're still at the beginning of school, and so it's hard to hammer down an exact number. The last figure was 2,445 students, and at the end of last school year, with the rollover numbers, it was actually 2,540, with a difference of 95 students. And so again, it's hard to say exactly where we are, but that's as close as we can get right at this point. We'll have more information, probably more solid numbers after Wednesday, after the 10-day drop.
Any questions on enrollment? So there's a 10-day drop. There's kind of a timeline, and then what is it after that? Is it 40-day or 80-day?
40, 80, 120.
40, 120.
40, 80, 120.
40, 80, 120.
Okay. Well, unfortunately down, but at this point not, I think we were 140 last year before it was all said and done. But again, we're early, so
Yes, sir.
we'll remain optimistic.
That's right. And as far as the scores, again, one of the reasons we're celebrating with the cake is because Silver Schools, we had 4 of our schools improve their school grade. And one of them is La Plata Middle School, went from an F to a C as in Charles. So we couldn't be more thrilled for that staff over there. They've worked very, very hard. And so we applaud their efforts just as we do every other school for the work that they have put forth. Our students have worked hard, and it's showing. I can tell you also, I would like to publicly state that the efforts of our instructional coordinator, Ms. Jameson, and our instructional coaches, which last year included Ms. Gabby Walden, those folks are a huge part and reason why our schools' scores have improved the way they have. They have just been working very hard, going and supporting the staff and helping with professional development. So I personally just would like to say thank you all very much for your efforts. We couldn't do it without you. Keep up the great work. So again, we had 4 schools improve. Harrison went from a D as in dog to a B as in boy. Again, La Plata improved from an F to a C. We had OHS go from a D as in dog to C as in Charles. And 6th Street improved from a C as in Charles to a B as in boy. So that's quite impressive, needless to say. 4 of our schools remain the same, which is not an easy task. And then we did have 1 school that dropped 1 letter grade, and that was Stout, went from a C to a D as in dog. And we are working on data to determine exactly the causes for that, and we're not concerned. We're very confident that school will return to its to the grades that it needs to have. That's an update on the scores.
Questions from the board?
Mine's kind of a 2 question. Did moving the 6th graders down to the elementaries possibly help La Plata in raising their score? Was that a positive, or is there any way to isolate that?
We can certainly isolate it,
Okay.
but to state that that's the reason why, that is difficult to
Okay.
state.
Okay. And then 6th Street, will we continue to have scores for them since they're just kindergartners now, or how does that work?
That's a great question. And yes, we will.
Okay.
We will. They track the students that have actually moved on, so to speak, graduated from that school and are within the other schools. They will track their scores.
Okay.
Other questions? Very well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is that your line? No, you've got one more item, facilities update, I think.
Okay. So a facilities update. I've got a report here from Mr. Barry Ward, the Director of Facilities for the district, and I will just read it. It, again, is short, and it is as of Monday, August 13th, regarding summer project update for the board meeting of today's date. It has been a great summer of facility improvements for Silver Schools, both in regards to bond projects, bringing the CMAR on board, and various other work throughout the district using HB 33 and SB 9 funds. Although actual construction at Harrison Schmidt Elementary, the Growing Tree Daycare, and Cliff Schools security fencing is just beginning, a lot of time and effort has been spent analyzing logistics, costs, and contractors with the CMAR. As a result, we have settled on a GMP, which is actually below the annual budget by roughly $200,000. Working with building administrators, we have settled on a construction schedule that will not adversely affect our primary goal, the education of our children. We've been able to ensure that several local contractors will be involved in substantial aspects of both projects: J&S Plumbing and Mechanical, A&W Electric, and Fowler Brothers Construction, just to name a few. Work will be ongoing over the next 12 months at Harrison, and at present, we are expected to complete the daycare in January of 2019. Keep in mind that this is an ongoing process where we will be continuously looking for avenues to reduce our cost without sacrificing the quality, and to include local vendors wherever possible. Bond funding was also instrumental in completing two other major projects this summer. At Cliff, we replaced the gym floor in the main building and redid the playground. As part of the playground upgrade, we relocated the pre-K equipment from Harrison Schmidt to Cliff Schools. With the addition of the Silver pre-K program, we have begun the installation of a new playground for that facility, which should be completed by the end of the month. We have also completed or are in the process of completing several projects utilizing HB 33 and SB 9 funds. The concrete curbing and flat work at the Altamirano complex is about 30% complete. District-wide LED lighting replacement is about 75% complete. Bathroom renovations at the pre-K are complete. Exterior stucco repairs, painting, and concrete flat work at La Plata Middle School are complete. District-wide HVAC control upgrades are 95% complete. Replacing the drive approaches at the Silver High student and faculty parking lots are complete, and various replacement of floor coverings and fencing throughout the district have been finalized. In an attempt to provide a safer environment for our students and staff, we installed a security camera, intercom, and electronic door entry locking system at each campus. This system is located at the exterior entry door used for public access after school starts and is set up to be monitored in each of the administration offices. This covers the majority of the larger projects that the Facilities Department has been able to accomplish this summer. I would like to thank the board and the public for all of their ongoing support with our goal to provide our students with a safe and comfortable educational environment. Best regards, Barry K. Ward, Director of Facilities.
Questions from the board? Very well. Everybody should have received in your board packet that update from Mr. Ward, and then also the I guess a diagram of the Harrison Schmidt Gymnasium, and in addition, the final approval letters from PED,
CIDPSFA,
PSFA.
Construction Department.
So any questions on any of those documents that were included in your packet? Going once, going twice? Seeing none? We'll move on to, I thought you were done, Mr. Brown, but actually you have another item, item E.
Yes, sir. The district is coming to the board and asking for the approval of a position that is desperately needed. It is the Student Teacher Accountability Reporting System. It's a clerical position. And what this position actually does, they provide multiple reports to the Public Education Department. And the reports, for example, they include student information, student demographics, student attendance, Also, staff information such as the pay scale, staff attendance, special education throughout the district, transportation services, food services, and those are just a few examples. What has been happening is this position has been kind of piecemealed out, if you will, and it is very, very difficult for Ms. McCain, for example, as well as administration, to be able to isolate if there's any issues, just exactly where the issues are stemming from. Basically, the schools report from their individual school location items that I just mentioned, of course, additional information, to one central location, and it's here at the central location that's been piecemealed out because there's so much information and takes so much time that for one person to do it is just impossible. And so probably one of the most important factors to take into consideration, the STARS information directly ties to our funding. And if it is incorrect, we could actually be losing funding. And so at the central office level, what we're trying to do is to figure out how we can make sure that we're getting every penny that we are due. Not a penny more, but we don't want to even go a penny less. And so every way that we can possibly look at trying to ensure that the district is receiving everything that we should, this is one of the reasons why we're asking for this. And so this person would actually be working to, and this is more than a full-time job in reality. It might be hard to believe, but it's just incredible the amount of information that comes in. And whenever there is an error, it reports that, and then it's up to this person to track it down and figure out where the area is that is an error. And it could be at several school sites, it could be at one school site. It could be at different departments. It's hard to say. So this person would be in charge of the entire STARS accountability system for the district. Plus, they would also be working directly with Mr. Potts as his secretary, administrative assistant, and Mr. Potts has a huge part in the STARS system. And so we feel that these two would work hand in hand very well. And so that's where we are at this point. Ms. McCain, did I miss anything that you can think of?
I think you covered it because, that student count is what they base our unit, they fund our unit value on, and if, we don't have those numbers accurate, then we, could in essence be losing money, and that is not something we can afford to do, in the climate that we live in. I mean, we have to be aware of every student that we have and make sure that we have, all the numbers in place that are accurate. So.
And this is something that Ms. Milam had under her authority when she was here. But again, she did have to have assistance by having others throughout the business office assist her. And it's proven very, very difficult. And it's not something that we want to come before the board with, because the last thing we want to do is increase the cost to our salaries and benefits. But this is a position that we truly believe is in need to truly benefit the district in the long run.
Questions from the board? Mr. Flores?
What would be the cost for salaries and benefits for this person?
Ms. McCain, do you know?
I'm looking at, I think it's a class 4 secretary. It's a 260-day position, which would be year-round, and I believe the starting salary on that is $26,000.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
This is something we had talked about. I mean, I think you and the current administration have taken on a lot of roles that were previously divvied out to the other administrator that we used to have, right, that we absorbed?
Correct.
Is that correct? So this was kind of part of that, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because I know when we would talk STARS before, that was one of the big things that everybody had to take a little piece of the pie before to try to fix that. But I think it does lead to some inaccuracies, or could potentially.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then I guess we had also talked the other day about the stars and the reporting, and I guess my only concern would be if we're reevaluating positions, just to make sure we're trying to shuffle things as best we can to make sure it's the smallest hit possible financially, whether it's, like you said, joining forces with Ben Potts, he needs a secretary or administrative assistant. At the same time, we're trying to cover the stars program, so.
Absolutely. We're trying to be as cost efficient and effective as possible.
This position would be paid out of operations.
Yes.
Other questions from the board? The only additional comment I would make, and I would say, especially since I guess we've joined the COG here recently, and I think everybody's starting to get those emails on grant opportunities. I think it would be something that would behoove the district to look at potentially, whether it's a part-time or full-time position, doing a grant writer. And so I'd like to see us kind of look at that as well. Maybe it starts off as a part-time position and we base it off of, okay, we're awarded X number of grants, that position can be in a sense tied to those funding. I don't know if that's possible with some of those grants, but that would be something I think, we're looking at trying to capture every dollar we can with this unifying, I guess, all of the stars reporting. I think it would be beneficial to potentially look at a grant writer as well.
I think that's something we could definitely look at doing.
Other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Brown, any additional comments, information?
No, sir. Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, very well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next on our agenda this evening is Mr. Clough, Associate Superintendent. Mr. Clough.
Thank you,
welcome
Mr.
back.
President. One item that was left off the agenda I want to bring the board up to speed on. I just ran our staffing report for the 18-19 school year, and I'm proud to announce we have every teacher hired effectively as of 3:30 today. Our last teaching position. Come on! Thank you. Was offered at 3:30 today and accepted, so the sped position at Harrison is filled. We also are in the process of filling the nurse position at Jose Barrios. So at this time, we only have 3 classified positions that are open, and 2 of them have already been interviewed for, so they're in process of closing. And we have 5 extracurricular positions. So we are in pretty good shape for the start of the school year, considered what some of our compatriots across the state have faced. So very proud of that, of the hard work of our staff, the principals, administrators of their programs that did that, the staff members that served on those interview committees, because we do use a group screening committee, so we had a lot of people give up their time after school to go ahead and do these interviews. And most importantly, the unsung hero of the HR department, Lisa Lucero, and the amount of paperwork that she's processed in the last 14 days might be of Olympic proportions, and she deserves a gold medal for everything that she's done. Lisa has done a great job making sure everybody gets in, and we get them in, get them hired, and get them to the job. So I just want to make sure I publicly thank all our staff and HR to make sure that this had happened. The other item I have on the board is an update. Is the state board did pass the alternative demonstrations of competency for our incoming freshmen for this year. We were hoping to have the final guidance by August 15th. They said it was going to come in the superintendent phone call we had with the Secretary of Education, Rakowski. Needless to say, they did not meet that deadline, so it'll be on the 31st of this month. So what may wind up having to happen is we may need to go back to the board to amend the graduation requirements for our income freshmen at a future date. Once we get exactly what the process and guidelines are for that, we'll inform the board and they'll give us next step actions to consider. Make sure that we're following the state guidelines as defined, but it has loosened up some of the requirements with regards to testing in the state. Rumor was there was only going to have to be 1 park administration for a kid during his high school career, but we'll believe that when we see it in the writing, because as much as they've tied to it. And then there's other possibilities for the board, such as apprenticeship programs, on-the-job training programs, certificate and credential programs that we may need to have board action, that they're giving the power back to the local school district to determine what are necessary for kids to graduate in your area. And there's a process that we will have to go through to make sure that they are acceptable apprenticeships. No longer the state does not have to adopt all those anymore. It's going to be at the determination of the local school district and school board based on what we were told in the phone call. But once we get that final guidance, I'll give a report to the board, and the next step action we have to do to make sure that our ninth graders are in compliance for graduation, because God knows I know a couple of you may have them in ninth grade. So we want them to graduate on time and not be impacted by that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to field them at that time.
Questions from the board? Very well, thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda this evening is Mrs. McCain, Director of Finance.
I don't have anything.
Nothing until our action items.
Yes.
Very well, thank you. The next on our agenda is Board of Education, and first up is the Finance Subcommittee report.
And I was unable to attend on Friday, so I will defer to Patrick.
Hey.
We missed you, Ashley. Starting a new school year, we're about a 6.05%. Talking to Mrs. Alvarez and Michelle, it's expected to carry or rise due to the fact that salaries and benefits are still being worked out, as Mr. Cloth stated. You know, they're just trying to fill all the positions, and hopefully next meeting we should have an actual percentage, correct, of the hopefully.
It'll be pretty close to
And then
7.
and then part of the carryover was the forest reserve, which put us over the positive, that helped something that was not anticipated. So that helped us up to carry over for 2018-19. I give kudos to Michelle and her team for just continuing, keeping a healthy financial budget for us, and look forward to working with you again this year.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. One question, the figure you're referring to that we'll have better, I guess, idea of next month is that the salaries and benefits as a percent of?
The one that he's talking about was the remaining budget available.
Okay.
The percentage of the remaining budget available.
So the what will be the carryover?
The carryover,
Projected.
yes.
Okay. Very well. Any questions from the board?
Is that the one where our goal is 4%?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Next on our agenda, if there's no other questions for the Finance Subcommittee, is the Safety and Security Subcommittee report. Mr. Flores.
I will get with Mr. Brown sometime this week to organize our first meeting for the new school year. And in talking to Mr. Brown, I asked him that if he had any objection, we're just going to go to the meeting and we're going to change the name to what it should be called. And it should be called the Threat Assessment Committee. And that was originally what we named it, and then for some reason it sort of got changed a little bit to Safety and Security, but we'll call it a Threat Assessment. And the reason I say that because we are assessing the threats for each school. Whether there is a threat, whether it be a student, a visitor, or an infrastructure threat, we'll address that at each school. And an article with Homeland Security, they mentioned that their new, I guess, direction for schools across the country in regards to school shootings is to create a threat assessment committee. And so, like the article that Mr. Brown read, we're ahead of that curve a little bit. So we've already created it. We also have another committee, the Crisis Intervention Committee. That was created last year as well. So those two committees will work hand in hand but we will organize a meeting and get together, and I'll have another update next meeting.
Thank you. Questions from the rest of the board? Thank you, Mr. Flores. Next on our agenda is under Board of Education is comments, and I'll go first on comments. I'd like to first of all, welcome everybody back and say kudos to those staff and students for their efforts last year and improving our school grades and many of the park scores. So thanks for the efforts that we're just getting back from last year, and as we get into the routine, looking forward to an exciting new year and lots of opportunities to continue that growth and continue that movement in a positive direction. So thank you all for that. One of the things, as mentioned by Mr. Brown, I think that we'll need to keep a very keen eye on is our enrollment figures, as those figures have continued to decline over the years. Our initial enrollment is down almost 100. So I think that's something just from a fiscal standpoint that, of course, we'll need to keep an eye on and make sure that our staffing levels are appropriate as well as we move forward. And those numbers, if they continue to decline, it'll be something that we'll need to address in making sure that our staff-to-student ratios are appropriate and we don't have teachers that have smaller class sizes as opposed to others. And I think that's going to be a key metric for us to keep an eye on. The other thing that I'd like to mention in regards to funding is the Grant County Prospectors. Got a couple dates for everybody. The Prospectors hold a capital outlay workshop, and that's going to be October 17th. That's a great workshop I attended when I first moved back here. Talks about the legislative process. It talks about the capital outlay process. Usually the COG puts that on, Priscilla Lucero. She does an outstanding job kind of putting all those pieces together for everybody. And that then leads into the Prospectors Forum. And the forum is where organizations, nonprofits, governmental, get an opportunity to present to our area legislators. And the forum is going to be December 6th, but there is an application process to be able to present to the legislators at the forum, and those packets are due November 15th. And then kind of the culmination of all of those efforts that the Prospectors, Grant County Prospectors do is they have Grant County Day up in Santa Fe during the legislative session, and right now that's scheduled for January 30th up in Santa Fe. So I'd ask administration, board members, those that are interested, to put those dates on your calendar. And I think what's important is to realize is the state has revenue, has some extra monies this legislative session, which is a 60-day session, which anything goes, any kind of legislation will be allowed. And I think we need to ask for some capital outlay. We need to ask for legislative issues to be addressed if we have those as a district. I think that would be something that I would really like to see as an individual board member, that administration or the board and administration come together with, here's some projects that we want to request for capital outlay, or here's a legislative issue that we want to ask for in Santa Fe this year. I think there's a number of things. Yes, we've got the bond monies, and we're building, and we're trying to make our district more secure from a safety standpoint. But if we can get some additional monies, we can make those bond monies go further. Just some examples from this weekend. I was at a soccer tournament. Apparently, there's some issue with the sprinkler system that the district and the city are trying to resolve, but that field is really dry. I mean, that to me would be a great project. It was like, that whole thing needs to be scrapped and we need to put in a new sprinkler system. Let's work with the city on maybe putting out a capital outlay request for money to get that replaced. Another one, we had a presentation, I believe it was last year, for an ag barn. And granted, a lot of that money was talked about that was going to be put forward from donations, but I think that would be another opportunity for us, especially as we look, as I think the pendulum kind of swings back to the vocations in education. We look at the ag barn. Also looking at auto shop. I think we completed, or that paint addition, paint room addition, for lack of a better term, was done last year, but the auto shop itself I don't think has been touched since before Mr. Markowitz was teaching auto shop, and that was a long time ago. And maybe there's a project there in conjunction with that ag building that we can put together. I mean, it could be as simple as an HVAC system in there that we can save some of our bond monies. But again, I think it's important that as a administration, as a board, we look at these dates. Prospectors puts on these events to help our area legislators better understand the needs of our community. And if we don't ask, they're not gonna just hand us the money. They're not gonna resolve the legislative issues. So we've got a little bit of time before those packets are due. You know, we can brainstorm, prioritize some projects, maybe some issues, and show kind of a united front before that forum and up in Santa Fe, and hopefully get some of the revenue that's out there. And with that, I'll end my comments and open it up to Mrs. Montenegro. Thank you.
It's not very fun to follow him, huh?
Mike, can I just ask real quick, Mike, when is the workshop for the capital outlay workshop? Is that here locally, or is it?
Yes,
On the 17th?
the 17th, and I don't have a location or a time yet, but I can get that information.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Ashley.
No, you're fine. Welcome back. How fast summer goes and how fast just time flies, right? I hope everybody had a great summer, got lots of rest, and is back into the swing of things and trying to get our kids up in the morning and doing reading logs and math and spelling all over again, get back in that groove. Just want to say, excited about all the projects that are going to be happening around the district, and thank everyone for their hard work to get those going, and also for people to be patient with us as we do it correctly and the best physically. FISCALLY. Let's see, what else? Awesome scores, amazing. It's great to be going in a positive direction. It's great to be a part of that, even at a very small level. And just welcome to all the new people to our district. And I think it's great that we're not having to do advertising campaigns to find teachers. So we're really, really a blessed district. So that's.
Thank you. Mr. Khan?
I want to just welcome back all the staff, teachers. I also want to congratulate on the district scores. Well done. Great news to start off a new school year. I just wanted to the first day of school last Thursday, I visited the pre-K. We're at the old OHS building, and I just wanted to thank them for the warm hospitality. They're transitioning to go out to Foxfield, and but they gave me the warmest hospitality, and the students just well mannered for being pre-K. Wow, yes. It just I got to meet Miss Walden's sister. So approaching her, that was just funny because she didn't know who I was, and I just looked at her like, okay, that was a little trick, but that was funny. I did attend the Harrison open house, and I could just feel just positive vibes from teachers, staff, parents, students attending the open house. I just randomly talked to some of my constituents in District 1, which Harrison's in my district, and a lot of comments was that they're so excited to get a new facility inside Harrison Schmidt. Leslie Orman did a great job on doing the painting on the, I believe, 5th and 4th grade wing, which looks spectacular, looks like a brand new wall. So parents and students are very excited. My students, my children are very excited that are attending Harrison as well. I also want to just point out that it's awesome to see our administration participating in school events. It's good to see, Mr. Brown at the sporting events. It does not go unnoticed to our students, staff members, and community members. That's noticed. And then see Mr. Cloth Boogie down at the dance at La Plata. That's just awesome.
I'm sad it didn't go viral. I wouldn't get it. Come on, help me.
I myself like to just participate, and I wish I could clone myself and go to everything, but I can't. But that's awesome. Again, I just want to end my comments and just wishing everybody a successful school year. I'm excited to just jump in and just see what our teachers, staff, and students can bring to make Silver Schools shine. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Diaz.
I just had a couple of kudos. I really wanted to thank the people involved with the K3 Plus program over the summer. A lot of people gave up their time in their summer where, most people are getting rejuvenated and trying to get ready to come back. A lot of people that gave up their time to help out kiddos, including mine. And it was a pretty amazing growth process for a lot of those kids, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I know it was kind of the first time hitting the ground running, and people were really, it was great, and it was so much better than seeing our kids home on electronics staring at the TV with their jaws open. So I was really appreciative, and I just wanted to commend you on your very, very hard work, and thank you for taking the time, because you didn't have to. I really appreciate it. And the kids really, I just saw huge growth and benefit, throughout. So thank you. I also wanted to say that the grades across the district looked great. Most people know I'm very outspoken about not having much faith in those grades, but by the same token, when they're good, I'm all right. So I really want to just congratulate everyone who had grades stay the same, which again is really hard to do, as Mr. Brown pointed out, but also those who improved. But also say, don't be discouraged. Stout, no one mentioned it tonight, but Stout's grade did go, well, Mr. Brown did bring that up, but Stout's grade went down to a D, and I would just say, don't be discouraged. We all know that's not reflective of the quality of teaching and growth that's going on there. And there are clearly so many measures that are hard to even know. It's kind of the mystery bag. So I would just say I'm there all the time, and I see huge growth and huge commitment from staff and students. And so please don't be discouraged by that. When you drop your kid off, know they're getting just a quality education. And it really started off with a bang. I went to the ice cream social there, which I thought was an amazing idea. So that was kind of the open house, welcome back everybody, and for parents. I just thought it was a great idea, because I'm still of the thought we'll work for food, clearly. And sweets are where it's at. So, but I just thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was very well received, really good turnout. So that was a great, great idea. The other thing I just wanted to say is that I did see the article that was sent out. Mike sent out an article about, it was posted in the Albuquerque Journal, and a teacher had actually written this article about, we should be holding ourselves to higher standards, and the grades do matter. And, I think it's important for our kids to hear what matters is that the growth is there and the commitment on both sides of that as a teacher and as a student, and you're only going to get what you put in. So your experience is dependent on what you're going to bring to the table and what that teacher is going to bring to the table. And so I think it's important for us to reinforce that as parents when we go home at night, because kids come home, they don't want to do their homework, they don't want to go to bed, they don't want to go to practice. I mean, there's so many parts to this, and I think building a good citizen is really dependent on that commitment when you don't want to go. It's easy on the days where there's an ice cream social. So I think it's important for us as parents to reiterate, it's not going to be just spoon-fed. We have to be committed on our end as parents and students. So I just want to make sure that we're sealing the deal at home. And there are times my kid is going to bed after 8. I've confessed that to Mr. Ping. And so works in progress. And then the other thing I just wanted to say is I definitely have noticed, I've been to several schools now, 3 different schools, and I've noticed the changes as far as the security infrastructure, the single entry points, and I think it's making a huge difference. The secretaries are going crazy. So I'm sure there's some fine-tuning like any other new system. But I think I am seeing a huge difference as far as the safety and security that I see going in. And I would just, again, encourage people to be patient with that, because sometimes the speaker doesn't work, but the alarm does. It's just getting the kinks out. So, but I think I am seeing a difference. And again, there was an article sent out about that one that I just wanted to say, when I was a huge fan of, let's get the infrastructure out there where there's money for metal detectors. And then when I read that article, I went, that's a different perspective. So I think it is true. We have to see what's working, what's not. And if it's not, then we should learn from somebody else's trials. But the one thing that was really echoed time and time again in that study and other studies that I'm seeing is the lack of mental health services. And I see that on my side in the adult and the pediatric population. And so I think if there's any funding available down those avenues, we really need to seek help, because I had a pediatrician approach me and he said, I really didn't know that elementary counselors weren't included in your operational budget. And I said, no, we do it out of the goodness of our heart because we know they're needed. But I don't think everybody's aware of that. But it also speaks to the fact that, that's one level, that's our counselor. Now we also need more people involved in the mental health side of things. And we're seeing that start earlier and earlier. And the sooner we can have intervention, I think the better off we'll be. And then we're not going to have to speak to, gun issues and, all these other things that are coming about. So early intervention comes on a number of levels. So welcome back. Lots of work to do, but I think we're all optimistic and just working to get better, and I'm really excited to see the enthusiasm. First football game Friday. And upcoming volleyball.
Thank you. Mr. Flores?
Mr. Brown, I just want to say thank you to your staff, your administrators, teachers for the grades. It takes an effort from everybody, and that's shown. So please pass along our thank you from the board.
Absolutely.
I hope that our reporting app system gets up pretty quick, because that's what it's there for. We need to use it. We need to put it out there, and students, faculty, staff, they need to be aware that it is operational. Again, just us talking about it each time and talking about it. All right, let's get it out there and operational, because there are some issues that are probably going to want to get reported right away. I'm also pleased, like Dr. Diaz said, it's great to hear that the safety infrastructure is already working. We talked about it, it got done. First day of school, it's there, so that people can know that we are serious about safety, and they know that, like Ashley said, be patient with us. We got to work out some bugs, but it's for the best interest of everybody at the school. Lastly, I just want to congratulate Coach Thompson. He, I think, retired. It was a shock to me that he retired. And, I grew up with Coach Thompson, and believe it or not, we used to call him Chunky growing up. And I think that's like a family secret. But I'll call him it once in a while, and he gets a chuckle out of it. But, it's hard. It's bittersweet, because I know what it's like to retire. I know that you need to spend time with your family, because he's given up so much of his time for his family. And he's produced such a great program. And, that's a true saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone. and now I know we're going to struggle to find somebody to fill his shoes. But he had a great, long and distinguished career. He was recognized for several accolades that I read in the paper, and it's going to be sad to see him step off the field, but he's still in the classroom, so I look forward to talking to him there. But it's congratulations with a bittersweet heart. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. One item that reminded me, some of the board members brought up that I meant to ask Mr. Brown and his information to the board, was the pre-K, just a quick update on the enrollment and how that is going over there.
Currently, we have 60 students enrolled. We do have additional 15 students, I believe, special education students that are going to be attending there in the near future that have recently been identified. And the pre-K program is going along very well. There have been a few kinks that need to be worked out, and we're in the process of doing that, and they're being ironed out as we speak. And so it's a good program. It's going to be very successful for our students.
And our estimate one was it 70 students? Is that what we applied for?
Yes.
And it's up to, it was actually, we wanted 80, and for some reason the application was submitted as 90, but we're not going to get to 90. I can say that. We're closer to 80 probably, 75 to 80.
Very good. Thank you. Very well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Next on our agenda this evening is open public comments. Mrs. Hernandez, do you have any requests for open public comment?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I'll pull out a form if I have to, but with my head down trying to avoid these bright red lights, there are ants coming in. And you notice things when you're looking down at this, so I just been watching the trail of ants go by, so.
Thank you, Ms. Bustillos. We'll make sure we get the cake out of here before they find it.
Just saying.
There's a big cake over there.
Yeah, we're looking that way. Just saying.
Very well. Moving on, our next item on our agenda is our
That's one of the more interesting public comments.
consent agenda. Approval of budget, finance, purchasing, a financial reports, no budget adjustment request, is that correct?
There are budget adjustment
Okay,
requests.
so
I
we
put
do
them at
have-
your station seat.
Okay. So A, the financial reports, B, the budget adjustment requests that are at everybody's site, and then C, awards of bids and proposals, no donations or conflict of interest disclosures. Very well, so A, B, and C. And remind me, do we do transportation separate or together with that? It's separate.
separate.
That's okay. All right, thank you. Mrs. McCain, anything to report on those consent agenda items?
I would like to ask for approval of the checks that were written this month. The number is significantly lower because, as you know, we pay off all of our contracts all the summer paychecks get approved in the June meeting, so it looks really small this time, but we have $527,098.46 in checks written for the month of July that we would like approved. Our budget adjustment requests, I've been given 3 awards since the last budget board meeting, Our fresh fruit and vegetable grant, we were awarded $31,573 that I seek budget approval on. Our truancy initiative, that is the grant that we have that is in place. It pays Mr. David Holguin's salary. Last year, we were funded with enough for one truancy coach, and this year they funded us with enough to be able to hire 2 truancy coaches. So that we have hired that person, and she is in place working with Mr. Holguin, and they are now, I think, covering district-wide the truancy initiative. And that budget budget approval request is for $136,000. We also were awarded breakfast for the elementary students, And in our initial award for that, we received $22,128. And so for all of those items, I ask approval from the board.
And then we have a bid,
No bids or proposals this week.
we have one in our packet for the prices, or the milk for the
Because it
district.
wasn't in with it, yes, sorry. I didn't get that information.
Here, I'll call it up for you.
Thank you. We had to do a milk bid separate. Usually we have the entire cafeteria bid, but what happened this year is Rhonda, who is our cafeteria supervisor, has gone with the co-op that has grouped together with, I believe it's Deming, Las Cruces, Solar City, and I believe Socorro. And they are using a cooperative contract. And so we didn't have to put all of our food out to bid this year. The only thing that wasn't on there was our milk bid. And so we had to do that separately. And it was, Prices was the one that came through with the winning bid this year, as they have in the past. And so we're asking for approval for that bid award to Prices for the milk.
Very well. Any questions from the board on our consent agenda items?
I just had 2 questions more for my education. I saw quite a few checks to the NMAA.
This is due season. We have to pay for all of our coaches and also for membership for the teams.
So each per team, there's a membership for them.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and then a question about the Medicaid reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay, what is it? Sorry, because I started thinking, I know what that is at my job, but I don't really know what that means.
Our ancillary staff does billings for the students that they service.
Okay.
And then we receive a reimbursement from Medicaid.
Got it.
So,
Okay, thank you. That was just for my education. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda items 1A, B, C.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you. Next, under consent agenda is transportations. And Mr. Clough, do you have that information on
Yes.
the board?
The bus drivers are those that are with our contractor that we approve every year. Our activity drivers are the activity drivers for our sports and activities of our staff, and those are the ones that attended our in-service and meet all the qualifications at this time for that. And then the feeder routes is the documents provided by Mrs. Estrada when people have to provide transportation to the bus stop. That is a certain mileage based on the application they have to fill out. And the number that is on that feeder route sheet is the max number that will be paid in the school year. It necessarily will not be that max number because of snow days, or if the person does not be transported, they submit a monthly log to Sandra to be paid. So that's the maximum amount that parent could be paid transporting their kid to the bus route, because it's impractical for us to take a bus back to pick them up at their house.
Very well. Any questions from the board on transportation items A, bus drivers, B, activity drivers, or C, feeder routes?
I have one question.
Yeah.
I know you're surprised. So I recently ran into someone in the community, and they told me that they send their kids to Cliff, which I said, okay, we all have options. But they told me that now we're providing a bus stop in Tyrone for the kids that want to go to Cliff. Is that true? Like they
No.
drop them off?
No.
Or is that further out?
That's further out. Certain parts of our bus routes for Cliff actually go close to the Tyrone routes, but anybody that's living in Tyrone, I'm unaware of that, because the transportation routes we have for town and Cliff are separate. Cliff has their own bus routes. So there may be a case, and I have to get with Sandra on this, that if there is a sped kid that requires transportation, we do allow for that child, the parent,
I know of at least one case where this has happened, where a kid has chosen to go there because of sped low numbers. We provide the transportation, they take them to a bus pickup at that point, but I'm only aware of one student that happens with for this year that's going to Cliff with that arrangement.
Okay. I just asked that from a financial perspective, not because we have,
No, all our internal routes and Cliff routes are mapped separately.
okay.
And
'Cause I
we
just,
try to accommodate parents as much as we can, but there are certain times where it's just impractical for doing that, and we do in lieu of transportation instead of providing it. We have the parent do it, and we pay them for doing it.
well, and I think people have
Yeah.
options. You can send
Yeah.
your kid somewhere,
Yeah.
but that also means that you're taking the initiative to get them there.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's something that the district should have to compensate for. So and I realize those are very separate situations, but that was my concern.
Other questions? Very well, I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda item number 2, transportation A, B, and C.
I so moved.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor of approving our consent agenda item number 2, A, B, and C signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you. Next on our agenda under action items is B, consideration and approval of the Cliff Schools graduation date for school year 2018-2019. And Mr. Brown, refresh my memory, that date is
For Cliff was May 17th.
May 17th. Any other information from administration regarding this item or questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion to...
Approve the graduation date
We've
for
got a
Cliff.
motion- We've got a motion.
May 17th.
Motion to approve the Cliff graduation date of May 17th. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Next, under individual action items is item C, consideration and approval of Silver Height graduation date for the school year 2018-2019, and that date was
May 23rd.
May 23rd. Any other questions or comments from administration or from the board?
I do think that is a rough go as far as the Thursday thing. I understand why. It makes perfect sense to me, but maybe next year we'll beat them to the punch. That's just a tough one because I see the hardship for families, but I also don't want to put it on a date where the two, then you have to make a decision about one or the other. But.
Other questions or comments on that item? I will entertain a motion for action item C, the consideration and approval of the Silver Height graduation date of May 23rd.
So move.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item D, consideration and approval of the Silver Consolidated Schools audit for the school year 2016-17 by Stone, McGee and Company. I believe each of the board members received the audit last month, correct? Any questions from the board or information from administration regarding approval of the audit?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the audit for the school year 2016-2017.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the Silver Consolidated Schools audit for school year 16-17 as presented by Stone, McGee and Company.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you. And last, I believe, on our individual action items this evening is item E, consideration and approval of STARS, Student Teacher Accountability Reporting System position. This is a one full-time position, correct? One FTE?
That's correct.
Any other questions from the board or information from administration?
Yes, sir.
Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve item E.
Mr. President and members of the board, I make a motion for consideration and approval of the STARS position.
I have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you. Next on our agenda this evening is future meetings and proposed agenda items. Next scheduled work session and regular board meeting will be September 17th. 5:30 work session, 6 o'clock regular board meeting. Then we have a region meeting, which will be Tuesday, September 25th in Camado. And typically that starts at 6, is that?
5:30 usually.
5:30. Any board members thinking they may be able to attend that region meeting in Camado?
At 5:30 meetings?
5:30 start time in Camado, New Mexico. Means we would have to leave, what? 2 unless Mr. Flores is driving.
He said 4:30. Right? If he's leaving at 4, I'll go.
Please, and I haven't seen an agenda yet, but if, as soon as we get that information, we'll make it available, and if we can send at least one person to represent the Silver Schools, it would be good, as Camado, I think, has recently joined our region, and
That's correct.
they made it down to, was it Animas was the first, or Cliff? Did they make it? I can't remember if they were at Cliff. But
They were at Animas, but I don't know.
They were in reserve.
Oh, in reserve.
They were-
that may
they were
have been
in-
the
you're right.
first
That was
one.
our first one.
So they were.
Yeah, so they were at Cliff and Animas.
I'll try to make it out that way.
Okay.
So I don't, how long do these normally last? Just out of curiosity.
Usually they're done by 8, I think.
Oh, okay, that's shorter than a board meeting.
Yeah.
Dr. Diaz.
I'm in. No, I'm gonna try to go. I'll try to go. I haven't made one yet, so I'm gonna try to make it.
And there is some hours that you get
Yes.
those too.
All right,
Yes.
September 25th.
And a meal,
Circle,
right?
circle, star,
And a
star.
meal.
And a
And a
meal.
meal.
5:30.
And
Eddie's driving at 4.
Like Animas, it was steak, and reserve was steak. It'll probably be elk up in Camado.
Is there dessert?
Moving on under future meetings and proposed agenda items to C, the annual convention for New Mexico is December 7th and 8th in Albuquerque. And next on our agenda this evening is open public comments. Mrs. Hernandez, do you have any public comment requests?
No, sir.
Do we have any more ants in the back of the building, Mrs. Busquets?
Aguilar, 'cause it's
Getting deep back there.
We'll hopefully be adjourning soon so we can get the cake out of here. Very well, next is executive session closed pursuant to 10-15-1, H2 through H9, NMSA 1978. A, H2 limited personnel matters staffing. B, H7 attorney-client privilege litigation report. And C, H2 limited personnel matters superintendent evaluation. I believe we would like to go to executive session. Mr. Hernandez, remind me we need to take roll to go to executive session.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Montenegro?
Yes.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Dr. Diaz?
Yes.
And Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 7:43. We will meet in the back conference room is available
Yes, sir.
in about
Thank you,
5
sir.
minutes if we can.
Appreciate it.